Well, good day to our large audience and welcome to today's I&VR Net Zero Circle webinar by name titled The Strategic Role of Investment and Innovation in Argentina Lithium Boom. This is definitely a hot topic, attracting a large audience and great interest among the mining industry, investment funds, government agencies, and all of us that work in this sector. To start with today's webinar, to give a little bit of context, let me start by saying that Argentina has experienced an unprecedented growth in its lithium sector during the past 3 decades. The country is becoming a global hub for geological exploration, development of projects, and even lithium chemical production. In 2023, Argentina had its third lithium project enter production, and several in the pipeline either being built or ready to enter. With more than 60 projects in development, it is very likely that the country will fivefold its production during the next 10 years, which is remarkable. In my opinion, and certainly in the consultant's opinion, Argentina could cross the bar of 250,000 metric tons of chemical production mid-2030s. I believe, however, that it's even more impressive our guest experience, foresight, and strategic view on the current and future lithium market. So let me welcome and introduce our eminent guest for today's webinar. We have the pleasure of having these three panelists today, well-known mining professionals and lithium sector experts with international hands-on experience. Without further preamble, we have here today Carlos Gali, Senior Director, Project Development Latin America at Lithium Americas Core, Martin Andreata, Chief Executive Officer of ANAC Group, and Diego Calonge, Senior Corporate Counsel, Legal and External Affairs at Rio Tinto. Their bios is impressive. Carlos Gali brings years of technical experience in the lithium sector. He has worked as consultant and advisor, General COO at LSC Lithium, General Manager of Operation at Energy Group, and many other strategic positions. Through his different roles, Carlos has been in the forefront of lithium project development in Jujuy and Salta. He's responsible and part of the history of Pozuelos Partos Grandes. Welcome, Carlos. It's a pleasure to have you here. Martin Andreata then has a strong background in engineering and business management with an extensive experience in the mining industry. He has managed significant projects for other companies in the region, between Anacoya, Someros, Salta Exploration, NOAA, and others. He has more than 20 years developing and managing mining projects. We welcome Martin. We're very fortunate to have you here. And last but not least, Diego Calonge, who brings years of legal experience in the private sector, public sector, and academic world as well. His areas of expertise include mining investment, energy and natural resources, administrative law, and economic regulation. His impressive prestigious role, several management positions in the private sector, which involves the Ministry of Economics, Ministry of Energy, and finally, as a scholar at Universidad Austral and Universidad de Belgrano. It's a pleasure to have you here, Diego, the man of the moment. So, without further introduction, and thanking I&VR and the Net Zero Circle, let's jump to the questions. We have a very interesting topics of conversation. Where we would like to promote the conversation of all of us. First of all, the three of you have been privileged witnesses of Argentinian success in the lithium world. Let me start by asking the three of you, what has been the key driver, the key success factor in Argentina's success? So it's a little bit of both. Previous historical information, and also let me ask you, what's next for Argentina? What's going to entail the next 10 years of development in the lithium Argentinian sector? And on the technology side, this is both political, technical, and economical questions and government question. Will direct lithium extraction, the elite, be a breakthrough and widely used technology? I would like to start by your opinion, Carlos, Martin, and Diego.
Okay, thank you, Jose. Thank you very much for the presentation and kind introduction words. So very, very quickly to your question, I think it's a combination. It's always a combination of factors, but probably there are some that are worth highlighting. So of course, one is the natural availability of the resource. So of course, Argentina has been blessed with the possibility of high and good natural availability of lithium resources in the forms of brine. They are kind of pretty well widespread. Of course, you have better quality in some places than others, and so on, and different tiers of tiers of quality. But in general, it's pretty much widespread. Another, of course, element to mention is probably some legal frame. So in Argentina, Argentina is a federal country, and the natural resources are belong to the provinces, to the provincial states. So that is also helpful to have a better understanding on the specific conditions of the natural resources. Another element to take into account is that the lithium is subject to concession as just another mineral. That's also very important to promote the possibility of bringing investment in the early stages of the development. So Argentina has probably, it was done a good job in exploration, which is the very first part, very high risk, and very much related to the typical way of conducting mining businesses. So that's very, very important, and Argentina was really successful in that regard. And of course, probably this will of learning and trying to capture knowledge. I see. Well, I have some years in lithium, as you mentioned, and I could see that probably the history of lithium is very much related to secrecy. So you have like a lot of companies trying to maintain their secrets, which is very important because of course you have to make sure that you protect your competitive advantages, but in some point you need to share. And when you gain scale, and when you start to gain a small sense of an industry, you start sharing. And lithium is challenging because it's different from other minerals, mainly brine lithium. So sharing has been mainly in the recent years a key element that probably has played a part. So that on my side, I think that I will like to highlight.
That's a phenomenal answer and motivates the discussion. Martin, you are an expert in development of projects. How much of this on this context? How much of that answer do you agree with? How important is exploration on the success of Argentina?
Well, thank you, Jose, for the introduction. I agree with most of the statement of Carlos. I think that all the mining projects start with exploration. This is very important. Argentina is a very promotive place to any kind of investor. So we have seen during the last 10 years a lot of exploration, mainly in the high price cycles. The first of that was in 2016 to 2019. And the second cycle that was 3 years ago and unfortunately stopped last year. That allowed to invest a lot of money in exploration and to prepare a lot of salars and projects to go to the tough phase, that is the construction and operation. I think that in the lithium mining business, exploration is a challenge, but operate and build and operate the project is really hard.
Especially on the brine side, huh? We're going to touch upon that topic, but it's key what you said, and we're going to come back to several questions specific to the development of projects, and we won't dodge the RSR, which is of interest for several companies and listeners at the moment. But you, Diego, you have a great deal of experience both from the private and the public sector. I bet that you can combine both the view from not only the national administration, central administration, but also the role of the federal and the provinces government. Huh?
Hi, can you hear me? Yes, I had some issues at the starting of this webinar with the connection, but I guess it is solved now. Well, first of all, many thanks for the invitation, and thanks Jose for the introduction also. And yes, I think that I agree with most of what Carlos said. I think that in comparison with all the other with our competitors in the region, Argentina it has a way more favorable legal framework that is more attractive to investments, despite of the weak macroeconomics, despite of the infrastructure issues that we may have, and despite of the rough logistic that we have in country for developing this kind of projects, we have managed to offer a legal framework that is more attractive to the lithium extraction. One thing that doesn't happen with some other minerals, with copper, for example, we cannot compete with other countries in the region. But it seems that with lithium, we have taken advantage of the situation and the context, and have managed to develop the project, all the lithium industry. And the other thing that, in addition to what Carlos said, I will highlight is that in Argentina we don't have main issues with civil society and neither with communities. The communities are willing to accept mining, always that they take part of the benefits, that they can seize a little bit of the benefits of the industry. Mining has had some ups and downs in terms of perception in the civil society, and in the last years, the perception of Argentinian civil society in mining, it is at the top. It's like 60% of society is accepting mining, with some conditions that we don't have time to discuss here. But that's another issue that I guess that positions Argentina pretty well for developing this kind of activity.
Absolutely, that is gold, and I couldn't agree more. It's in summarizing a little bit your answers. I believe it's a mix of very virtuous decisions at the same time, and companies seem to be like agreeing that despite the economic fluctuations, Argentina is a serious destination to where they can land and where they are welcome to invest. And obviously the Rio Tinto movement is a proof of that. One final question for the three of you. Do you think that the macroeconomic reforms and changes of this current administration is going to end up boosting the Argentina lithium sector?
Well, I hope it will be a good answer. I hope.
Well, I can tell you that there's a lot of interest, even from copper corporations, to land in Argentina. And obviously
yeah. In short, Jose, I agree with Diego. I hope as well, but I think that it should. It should present like a better framework. Diego said clearly that, I mean, there are advantages and favorable elements in Argentina, despite of, and that this despite of is where we have to work better. No, that's where we have an opportunity to improve, and that's where the most of the doubts come. So if a better environment, if more favorable conditions, if more predictability in the jurisdictional security, so to say, can help, that is going to be very important. I mean, when you have a good project, it's good no matter what. No, so probably it's a matter of time if you do it or not, or how to do it, but you will do it. If it is good the project, then you go for that. But it is always helpful when it is supported or when it is framed into the proper moment. And you can see it in other industry, no? In oil and gas in Argentina, for example, this can be seen already that there is a proper framework that helps investment to come, and it helps the development. So I hope, then I go back to Diego's, I hope that we can see that in Argentina for lithium shortly.
I think that we are going to the right path. I think that the macroeconomic stabilization will be very important for running the projects in Argentina. I think that the new incentive regime for investment, that is the RIGI, is going to add a lot of good environment for investment in Argentina. We have the first project, mining project entering that is the Galan project. We hope the environment is going to be better, and this is going to add more investment besides the low price environment that is this year in Argentina.
Yes, glad that you mentioned that, because in the latest consulting publications, especially on the cost side of things, there is we're going to go back, we're going to touch upon that topic, but there is a certain advantage of brine projects on the operational cost side of things compared to hard rock. Brine projects, in terms of pricing, seem to navigate better the price collapse periods of time. We have that in my memory fails, must have been 2019 when the prices collapsed. You could still see exports from, without naming companies, from both Chile and Argentina, and export at $3,500, even $4,000 per metric ton, while they were in great pressure.
Well, Jose, I think that we are in the most favorable position compared to other mining countries like Australia, China, and South Africa. Our position is comparable with Chile in terms of cost. We think that this is going to help to generate more confidence in investors. The investment for Rio Tinto getting Arcadium is showing us that we are in the right place in terms of competitiveness.
Indeed, Rio Tinto's statement was quite strong. We're gonna talk in detail about that. But now that we have moved to the project side of things, let me pick up your brain, Carlos, on this one. Specifically to you, were part of the development of the third project in Argentina, the Caucharí Olaroz asset. And despite the market fluctuations, we would like to know, and with a significant capacity of 50,000 metric tons, that's non-neglectable, we would like to see what has changed in the market. How has change the guideline of that projects throughout the low pricing environment periods? And in addition, what's the current state of Pozuelos Pastos Grandes?
Well, yeah, a lot of things changed. So to start with the product, so the final product changed, and it will continue changing. So that's one of the big challenges of lithium, is that the final product, not only it's a very sophisticated product, so it's already a high value added product, but it is also a moving target. So this presents a big challenge, because given how strict the specifications are, then you have to consider that in the design of your asset, in the design of your project. So that is one thing that changed significantly and will continue changing, and it's very hard to predict, no? Because there were different movements, there were different ideas on what the technology would be for batteries, and if hydroxide was going to lead or carbonate was going to lose, or a lot of things, and then we have what we have, and it will continue change. So that's a big challenge. Of course, added to that, the challenge that we have to do that at high, no? So we have to produce at high altitudes in a very with restricted infrastructure in very complicated conditions. So that's another element. Then of course the scale of the projects was also different. Probably when we started, we were thinking on smaller scale projects. Then scale became important. We could see that in the way in which Australia mainly reacted when the big when Martin mentioned these price peaks. In one of these price peaks, a big demand was created, and then Australia reacted very, very well with China, with capacity for refining. So then probably from lithium, from Brian, we learned how do we have to think on the projects and to think on scale in order to really be prepared for matching that. Of course, the cost curve changed significantly. You can see in the way in which the different projects fit and arranged together in order to see that and this change. And probably one important thing, like very, very important, is the price references, no? And you had a lot to do with that one, Jose, particularly, no? So it was and think that lithium could, probably some years ago, that lithium could have a price reference, that there could be a place where you can get in internet and get some sense of price reference on such a product. And today we have it, and it is improving and it is increasing. So this brings to this space a very interesting new dynamics. So that's great. Now we have to keep on changing, no? So for example, we have to get more sophisticated in the way in which we develop the projects. We need to speed up. We are still kind of slow, mainly from brine. We are still kind of slow in reacting to the demand, because it takes a lot of time, mainly to the brine projects. It takes a lot of time to put in production. And the other area where we need to gain in sophistication is in the way in which we finance the lithium projects. No, we are probably very narrow in that regard, and this also brings another limitation, which is clearly understandable given the variation, inherent variation on the whole lithium elements. No, so not only it's relatively new as a material, as a particular material, not as a byproduct, but as a focus material, but also it has a lot of variability still on a number of things, and uncertainties and risks and so on. So it's understandable that let's say the availability or the sources of financing could be limited, but that's another area where we have to learn. Yeah. And the other thing is that we need to keep on learning from other industries. I'm very happy with another change, which is oil and gas companies getting into the lithium space, bringing a lot of different practices, experiences, points of view, and approaches, and even a sense of facing risk we are very much from the mining space now, getting some input and feed and interaction with the oil and gas practices. It is probably in early stages, but I think will bring a lot. So that's all that lithium industry needs in order to keep on growing. We need to, we like to say in Lithium Argentina, we need to do lithium different in order to really be able to cope with or to face the increasing demand of lithium, so we can be at the high at the expectation. So on the other side, we should have seen a lot more of lithium from brine today in the offer. So it's not yet there. It took more time than what we expected or what we wanted. So we need to improve on that one. And I hope that this will change also in the future, no? That we see the cost curve like fatter in brine than today. That would be for the benefit of the whole industry. No?
Yeah, that's absolutely. We all agree on that view. And very quickly, Carlos, very briefly, for our loyal audience, how much have the cost increased before and after the pandemic, the operational cost? Is it, and finally, is it convenient to produce hydroxide in Argentina?
To the first question, the increase was significant. I think all the industries suffer for the inflation and the changes in the supply chain. So in that, lithium was not alien to that. So the cost increase is significant. So I remember that before the pandemic, you were thinking on projects with $3,000 to $5,000 per ton of OPEX. Today, that's really off the table, no? So you have to think on realistic costs that will be somewhere between $5,000 and $8,000 dollars per ton or something like that. So which can still be competitive, no? Of course. So yeah, the cost has increased significantly. The capex in the same way, and then to the sorry, what was the other point?
Oh, is it convenient to produce hydroxide in Argentina?
Yeah, I mean, it will always be simpler today to go to carbonate. Today, from brine, if you want to go to hydroxide, it's kind of tricky, but technologies are evolving quickly. No? So the short answer probably to not so clear today, but I expect that in the short term, it might be convenient, it might be competitive. So we may see. By the way, POSCO just inaugurated a lithium hydroxide plant from brine in Güemes, no? So it's there, it's happening already. Albemarle has been doing that for a while now. So yeah, you can of course do it, but probably it's not so clear that it could be convenient or more convenient than carbonate. But I'm sure that with technology evolving, this will happen.
That's key. That's great, and a great news for the entire Argentinian lithium sector. Let me redirect the discussion to you, Martin, because this is another interesting project that's quite hot in Argentina, the Arizaro Salar, and as I understand correctly, it's a DLE project. I would like to ask you, first of all, if I'm not mistaken, how are you coping, developing? Has it changed the design of the project with the new current lithium pricing? And most important of all, how's the environment in Arizaro with all the different players? Is it a virtuous collaboration environment, or there's a lot of competition? Thinking about the lessons that we could take for neighboring countries, basically Chile.
Okay, well, let's start with Arizaro. Arizaro is the largest salar in Argentina in terms of land. It's more than 200,000 hectares of mining rights. We hold a significant portion of that, more than 60,000 hectares of mining rights. And the main quality of this salar is that this is a low-grade resource. We through our exploration that started in 2018 and ended last year, we found lithium grades ranging between 150 and 250 milligrams per liter of lithium. So we analyzed the conventional evaporation method to go to production, but was not convenient because of the size of the ponds we have to build and the size of the salts we have to manage in terms of harvest. So we decided to test several DLE technologies from different vendors, and we have chosen one in particular that is from Sunresin, from this is Chinese vendor, one of the most experienced company with several plants in production in China using this technology. And so we bought turnkey plant. This is a phase 1 plant from 6,000 tons per year. We got the environmental permit. So this technology has some advantages compared to the conventional evaporation. That is the lithium recovery that can reach up to 85%. That is very high compared to the 40 or 50% you can achieve with ponds. And also the quality of the product that you can get is really high. We are going straight to battery grade. And well, we are going to test this plant in order to move forward with the second phase that would be 22,000 tons per year to achieve 25,000. That would be the capacity for the resource we hold right now.
That is spectacular, and congratulations for that project. So for salars with low lithium concentration, what do you think is the best way to develop the project with a combined, thinking about Chile, for example, a combined conventional evaporation with DLE, or is it possible to go straight to DLE? I understood from the question that, well, obviously being teamed up with Sunresin is a phenomenal company, very credible, with a lot of experience and a lot of funding. Does it depend on the DLE provider?
Yes, we haven't decided to go to a hybrid method using ponds because we are trying to save the most water consumption we can. So if we go through DLE and then to RO and MBR and then to the carbonation process, we can recycle more than 80% of the industrial water consumption. So that was the main goal for this design, to save the industrial water consumption and to reach the highest quality for the final product. So we only use DLE for this project.
Very, very interesting. We're all hoping to see that the project succeeds and ramp up, and especially with direct lithium extraction. Let me go ahead, please.
Yes, you mentioned that how is the cooperation environment in this Arizaro, that there are many players in different stages and trying to move the project forward. I think that the experience so far is going very well. We have a conversation with all our neighbors, different kind of companies and different stages. We share some facilities on site. We exchange some experience, and I think that in the future that's going to change because there are too many players, and so some kind of consolidation of project should happen. So, but that's not necessarily bad because it can give you a higher scale. So that is going to be important for the future. If you think of sharing infrastructure, you will need to get higher projects in terms of scale. This is the reality of Arizaro right now.
That is gold, actually, because there's a ongoing discussion about how consolidated a salar should be in the development of new assets. Let's start with Chile. Some of the people think that it should be consolidated under one single corporation. Some of others think that it's possible to have different companies. And Argentina, I think, is an example. It might be the case that there's a sweet spot when companies could coexist and at the same time create a virtuous environment of competition/cooperation. Otherwise, the oil and gas sector would have never developed. Yeah? Would have developed under just one single corporation. Well, let me change gears now and move the discussions to you, Diego. You are the man of the moment. And the purchase from Rio Tinto of Arcadium, the merger between Livent and Allkem, I think it took a lot of people by surprise. Everybody was expecting a large mining corporation to jump into the lithium sector. Obviously, Rio Tinto had their background with the Serbian asset in the purchase of Rincon, which, by the way, entails direct lithium extraction technology. So for us, it was remarkably interesting because it's a Western move, it's counter-cyclical. It was done under a low price environment. Let me add that it was quite convenient in terms of the investment. They purchased a large portfolio of assets. So my question is twofold here. How emblematic is this purchase for the lithium industry? Do you think it marks a before and an after? And secondly, will this incentivize other major corporations to enter the lithium business? Thinking about mining companies, oil and gas players, something that we mentioned at the beginning of this webinar.
Well, going to the first question, I guess the answer is that it's quite significant for the industry, this acquisition, I mean, because we have very big companies producing lithium, but none of them is a big mining company with several minerals. All the lithium companies are not diversified as all the big companies are. Rio Tinto is already producing some critical minerals for the energy transition. It's leading in copper, in iron ore, in aluminium, and in some other minerals for the energy transition. And Rio Tinto stepping into the lithium industry was a big thing when Rio bought first Rincon, and Rio accelerating in this path and going forward for the lithium industry. It is, I guess, it's not for me to say. It's how the market sees it. But by my view is that the market is seeing this as a beacon or a big milestone in terms of the energy industry development. So I guess that the first answer is yes. We are very excited with the acquisition, but still we have to highlight that there are still some approvals pending that will allow the acquisition to be completed. We expect that to happen in the first quarter in Q1 next year, and will position Rio Tinto as a major play in the lithium industry. It's something that, of course, we are very much excited. And going to the second part of your question, or a second question, my experience, not from since I am in Rio, but before being in Rio, I was a lawyer. I worked in a law firm, and I was advising several mining companies in lithium and some other minerals. And always that a big company goes into a different jurisdiction, steps into a new market, it is important because it grants some degree of validation to that jurisdiction, because if Rio Tinto relies in the Argentina context, if Rio Tinto believes that it's possible to do business in Argentina, it has an impact in some other companies that I hope that will also rely in this country and start some new investments. I guess as the other speakers said, the country is in the right direction. The RIGI is a good thing. It is improving the mining business cases quite a lot. But there are a lot of things to be done. It's good, very good, but probably not enough. The context, it shouldn't be something isolated only for the mining industry. It should be something for the general macroeconomic of the country to be really attractive. But I believe that yes, it's a milestone, and yes, it will draw some other players attention into the Argentinian market.
Absolutely, that's a great answer with a lot of lessons, and one that I would like to highlight is that I think that purchase is quite unique, and it is a vote of trust to the management and I would say the support that the Argentinian government and the performance of the Argentinian government, not only the central but the provinces. And it is a vote of trust of Rio, which decided to purchase existing producing assets and a portfolio of assets to be developed. There's a lot of speculation whether Rio Tinto could partner up with Codelco in Chile, etc. I think that Rio already made up his mind, and they made a great decision. Let's see if that will trigger other virtuous purchases in the market. Well, again, let's move on. We have some other interesting topics to cover, and we have talked in depth about the technicalities of the project, the Argentinian landscape, and some microeconomic good measurements to boost the lithium market in Argentina. But let's go to the macro. Let's go to the market itself in general, top level, and let's mingle between pricing and cost. We have mentioned the cost advantage of Argentinian brine sources, even with DLE. Now, let me ask you about having in mind the cost curve prices. How do you see the price for 2025? Carlos, you've been very quiet. I hope you're still there.
I am, yes. Yes. That's a tricky question. That's a question I would like to ask you, actually. But
no,
you made the first move, so that's unfair. Yeah, no, that's a tricky one. And I think that the key word there is volatility, again, unfortunately, which is a characteristic of this industry. I think also that the dynamics of price have changed a lot. You asked before what changed, and I forgot about that one. So the dynamics, the fundamentals and the rationale for prices also got more sophisticated as the supply chain got longer, and as the understanding on how that into the EV dynamics also played. So that's a big one. We have to see China. So clearly China is leading on that one. China is leading on the dynamic. A big portion, way more than half of the EV dynamic is happening in China, and seems to continue to do so for a while still. So that's going to lead the dynamic. And from what I understand, what you can see in China is still a lot of elements to be aligned in order to allow the prices to rise. So what I understand, I'm not an expert. I'm talking from what I hear and from what I can see, but seems that the prices on the next year will still be probably at the, let's say, conservative level. But then, of course, the old and good dynamic of offer and demand of lithium, and some projects being delayed, and the offer not being there, and the new demand coming, and new dynamics and so on. This will also play a part. So I think volatility is expected in some point. I wouldn't dare to say that sometime next year, or probably the following. So that there will be expected to be some price adjustments, and as the demand in volume consolidates. The other element that we have to be very, very mindful of is technology. So that's another very interesting element to consider. The role of technology in lithium. I'm not just talking about DLE, technology in general. So battery technology, manufacturing technology, so supply chain technology. So that will also play a big part in the dynamics of the whole thing, and that's important. Now, the important thing to mention is that now more than ever, the fundamentals of the demand are very clear, are always very clear. So that's very important. And one thing that at least I can perceive, I can feel, is that regardless of a low price environment, Martin was very clear, and he described that very well. So, but regardless of the low price environment, probably we can sense, we can perceive like a better dynamics in the lithium space. In great deal, thanks to Rio Tinto's move, that was very smart and very positive. So in great measure, because of that, that kind of unlocked a new sense or a new dynamic that is also always very helpful for lithium, no? And probably the key question there is, what's the price that motivates the producers to invest in new capacity? And that's a tricky question. No? It depends on the companies, it depends on the situation, but there is a price. Every company will have an idea, and there is a price that is calling for new investment, calling for increasing capacity, and so on. And the perception clearly is that we are not even close to that price. So that's also a sense that provided that the fundamentals are clear, provided that in one point, clearly the demand will overcome the offer, and this price for calling new offer, which takes time, will be there, added to the fact that we have to improve on the cost curve, so we have to be more effective. Lower cost projects will have to be there, and brighter lower cost projects, but they take time. So all of that will play, and probably will push a little bit on prices. No, so yeah, shortly conservative, but with good perspective.
And for the other two panelists, where lies that lower bar in terms of pricing? We all know that the majority of the supply comes from Australia. At the moment, there is a lot of pressure over Australian producers. That's one thing. The other, what could be a credible long-term pricing? Because if you think about what has happened during the last cycle, there's a lot of volatility, but have we learned? Are there lessons learned from that cycle in terms of the LME, liquidity, the contract, etc.? It seems like the market and the relationships between producers and customers are still quite green. They're quite immature at the moment. So any price surge, price explosion in the price could be imminent. Huh? What's your view, Martin?
Well, I think that there is some kind of consensus in the industry related to the demand. I think that 2.5 to 3 million tons of LCE is going to, is a number that many of the industries are managing. So we need to more than double production to reach that capacity during the next 5 years. So a lot of work need to be done in terms of the offer. I think that another consensus is that the price has bottomed in 10,000. I don't see price going down. But as you mentioned, the hard rock operation has suffered a lot from these lower prices. So some operations in Australia and China have closed. So I think that in 2025, maybe late 2025 or the beginning of 26, price is going to recover. I'm not sure to what level, but I think that maybe in the 15. And I was very surprised a few weeks ago when I heard some of the price report agency saying that the next high prices cycle could start in 2028 or something like that. So it would be very good for the industry to have prices in the 15 to 20 because it would add a lot of investment, a lot of funds, and going to the next stage, that is from 20 to 25, going to increase the dynamic of the sector. I'm not sure a new price spike would be really good or bad for the industry because it adds a lot of uncertainty. But I think the range of 15 to 20 will be a good for balancing the industry in terms of the mining production and the price of the batteries. So that's my expectation.
That's very good. It seems like there's some agreement on that between consultants that the price should increase by the end of the decade. We believe that it's going to be before. There are signs, there are red flags on that. The same thing about long-term price incentive. Everybody understands that with the increase of cost, prices can't remain at this level. Same thing as importing hard rock, low grade material with all the environmental implications that entails, and brine sources are a good alternative for that in terms of cost competitiveness and being a green source of lithium chemical production. Diego, what's your take on that?
No, I agree. I agree that the prices, as Martin says, can't be much more lower than they are now. And as Carlos says, the industry and the prices will be very volatile. We will see that the prices will go up and down, and they will stabilize at some reasonable price at some point, closing close to the end of this decade. And this volatility is something that also, I guess, that something that I would like to add is that the regulator should also learn about this volatility, because when the prices were running very high, the authority was like dazzled with that price, and there were a lot of attempts to increase royalties, to increase taxation, and you have to learn that that won't be always that way, and mining industry has to live with ups and downs, and you need the ups for compensating the downs. So the price, if the price is not stable, you have to take size of the good moments to compensate the bad ones. So that's something that the authorities should also notice. I guess that they learned a little bit about that, and you don't hear that much that eager for making taxation higher. That will be something that will kill many projects.
Good, good to know. We are running out of time, but before going to our audience questions, I would like to finish with the $1 million question now. How many, and this is from your perspective that you watch the Argentinian market day to day, as opposed to us that we're used to processing news and spreadsheets, etc. But how many projects will come online in Argentina in the next 10 years, between 2025 and 2035? Is it 10, 14, 18? What is credible here? And I'm going to put you on the spotlight. Martin, before you, Carlos, I know you're quite eager to jump in. Huh?
Well, I think that at least 10 projects are going to production based on the current operation and the state of development and the possibilities of many projects that we have in Argentina. At least 10 projects. If we don't get that mark, we will be in problems.
Good. Carlos? Diego?
I guess that number is reasonable, given that the conditions remain as they are, and there are several projects that are going to start production in the last 2 or 3 years, and some others that probably will need a price signal from the market to start. But provided that signal from the market comes, that I think that will come. That number is very reasonable. 10 projects.
And related to that, do you see any bottlenecks in the reagents, for example? That's a big demand, and we're all expecting the demand, the supply from Argentina to cross 250,000 metric tons LCE. Is that a bottleneck for the reagents? How about soda ash, for example?
I guess that it will be a bottleneck for the logistic of the reagents, mainly. You know that the Argentina production of soda ash is very minor. It doesn't. There is only a provider of soda ash providing in country, so you have to import most of it for all the lithium projects, and that will put a lot of pressure of getting the soda ash to the projects, because they all use the same roads, and you know that for each ton of lithium you need 2 of soda ash, and that will be a lot of movement into the Puna.
Absolutely. Well, I think we're close to the end of this session. We have a couple of questions from the audience, but I think we've touched between the development of projects, technicalities of DLE, the Argentinian government landscape, and some other aspects of the market and development. I think we covered plenty of topics, and I would like to thank you again for your time, for your great insights. It's always good to share with experts in the lithium market that have the hands-on experience. And finally, as closing remarks, I would like to thank INVR Net Zero Circle webinar for the support and this great experience. I'm pretty sure it has been extremely helpful for many of our loyal audience. So to all of you, have a great day. Let me thank you again, Martin, Carlos, Diego. There's still time for final remarks in case you want to jump in. Gents.
Yeah, so I apologize. I lost the last part due to poor connection, but I think thank you for the participation, and it's always great to share a panel with you guys, with Martin, Diego, Jose. So thank you very, very much for the opportunity, and yeah, our challenge is probably to reduce the risks related to lithium, so that we can help attracting more money into this space. I would like to highlight something that Joe Lowry always said, that it is very difficult to reach to the first million ton, but the lithium industry, Martin put it very clear, we have to do that again and again and again. So that's a big challenge in our hands, and we need as much help as possible and as much traction as possible. It's not just traction, but also attraction. So that's a big challenge on this side of the industry, but also really encouraging and a lot of fun. No? So yeah, thank you for the opportunity.
Well, I would also like to thank all of you for the opportunity. It seems that it hasn't been a good day for connectivity. The connection was pretty bad for me and for Carlos also, but many thanks for the opportunity, and it's really nice to share the panel with some friends.
Okay, thank you so much, Jose, Carlos, Diego, and all the audience. I think that we share some thought on the industry. So I think that brilliant times are coming, so we need to be ready.
Good. Well said. So again, thank you all for your participation. To the panelists, always good to see friendly faces and great amount of experience. And to our loyal listeners, thank you again. It has been a pleasure. Thanks and goodbye, and enjoy the rest of the week.
Bye-bye.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye.